This segment is brought to you by Trap Chevrolet. We're always on your side. All right, welcome back to Bayou Town. This is a big segment. So big of a segment, we're going to go an hour on Facebook and YouTube. We'll mesh them all together. We'll have a two-part series on HTV. You may say, well, what's the segment? All right. Mid-Barataria Sediment Diversion Project. Now, if you've spent any time with Gordy Dove over the last year, you know he's been busy with this. This has been a big, big project. It's been controversial, would be an understatement, and we're going to go back years. And Mr. Dove is here today. He's a CPRA chairperson. You thought you were busy as parish president and legislator, but CPRA chairperson, it's a pretty big job.
Definitely, I've been running.
Yeah, no doubt. Kim Chauvin is here. She's the councilwoman, the vice chair for the council, District 8. But today you're here because you're in the industry of the shrimping industry.
Yes, and very deeply involved in the seafood industry.
I want to get your opinion because what we're going to talk about today, is big.
Yes.
So, Mr. Dove, let's start with you. This has been such a contentious battle of just follow it all the way along. And there have been some, redactions sent to the Corps. The Corps wasn't real happy. The Corps sent some stuff back. You ended up going to the House. You went to the Senate. You won this big thing. This was a big thing, but I want to explain to the people, they're going to go, Martin, what the heck are you talking about? Set the scene for us. Well, where did this start and what was happening?
So, Martin, in 2007, the Congress passed a word of the Water Resources Development Act. In there had the LCA program, which is the Louisiana coastal area. Within that had a medium diversion, Myrtle Grove diversion of 2,500 to 15,000 cubic foot per second. Mm-hmm. The Corps had studied this for a decade prior to that. They looked at the 75,000, they looked at the 50,000, 100,000. And they came up with, they rejected them all, and they came up with the small diversion is what they wanted to build in the Myrtle Grove area. Just as they built Davis Pond at a 10,000 CFS, and they built Carnarvon at 8,000 CFS. Mm-hmm. So lo and behold, they started in 07. In 2010, you had Macondo, April of 2010. And so after Macondo, the Corps kept on with their engineering and the environmental impact statement on a small diversion called the Myrtle Grove Medium Diversion, mm-hmm. with dedicated dredging. So they were going to also dredge and put dirt right down on the ground, sediments, and build land immediately. Well, here comes 2013. We got $7.8 billion the state of Louisiana. So there was a move, which I was 100% against when I was in the legislature and on CPRA. They wanted to go to this 75,000 that a lot of organizations wanted. And I mean, it was obvious it wouldn't work because the Corps wouldn't build it. The Corps was building the smaller one. They studied it for 10 years. They issued a chief's report, and the United States Army Corps of Engineers was going to fund it with a 65% federal, 35% state. We do that a lot with the Corps. Mm-hmm. Now, and then all this monopoly money came in, I call it, from the BP spill.
Right.
So they canceled that with the Corps, and the state canceled it at that time and went to the 75,000.
What was the BP money? 2.8?
No, to Louisiana was 7.8 billion.
7.8.
In that neighborhood.
But total everything of 7.
Total was $20 billion to everyone, okay. Yeah.
So let me ask you, the 75,000 CFS, that's 2 billion gallons an hour, is that correct?
75,000 is 2 billion gallons an hour, not a day. Okay. But the minimum it can run and have a beneficial use is 1.3 billion gallons at 50,000 cubic foot per second.
What would that do I know we jump around, we're gonna go to a program you put together, but what would that do to the areas where that's coming out of the Mississippi?
Well, for what it would do, it would raise, it's in all reports, it would raise the Barataria Basin 1'6" to 3 feet. So you would flood all the homes that's outside the federal levee system. You would flood all these camps. They're all up in the air, most of them. And your businesses, you would flood all that. So that's why they had to build bulkheads, and they tried to do a big buyout program on 800 properties in Plaquemine. But that did not include the stuff, the Jefferson, Lafitte.
They never got to Jefferson, did they?
No, they never got to the houses to buy in Jefferson, the camps and all that's on the water.
And then who pays for, I know y'all have money set aside to buy people out, but that's a big undertaking when you get to buying people out, right?
Well, any money's over 378 million, and actually the buyouts on the land and all is about 280, because the others is some fisheries and other marine stuff. We'd have to come up with more money. Well, there's no doubt it's a lot more money than that. So that wasn't enough money right there. You was already at 3.1 billion when you started right after you started construction. So you still had hundreds of millions more that you were going to have to come up with.
All right, let's do this. We'll take our first break. I'm going to come right back. Gordon Duff, CPRA chairperson, and we're going to have Kim Chauvin talk about the shrimping industry. This affects all other industries, not just shrimping industry. So we'll be right back. Don't go away. This segment was brought to you by Trapp Chevrolet. We're always on your side. All right, we're back. We're talking with the CPRA chair, Mr. Gordon Dove, and this is about the Mid-Barataria sediment diversion. 75,000 CFS permit was suspended by the United States Army Corps of Engineers, and we're diving into this big time. We have Ms. Kim Chauvin, who's a councilwoman here in the area, vice chair of the council, but she's also a business owner. She's in the seafood business.
Yes.
So your thoughts on this?
When I found out about it, I was ecstatic. This meant the world to us for the seafood industry, and I see a lot of people not understanding what this project really was. And so for me, I challenge people to go read those environmental studies. Why would you omit scientific data from this project? Why would you literally not work with the seafood industry at all? Because that's some of the things that were happening. And I can tell you this, Gordy and I have talked through many years for him to understand what our industry goes through, the things that we need. And I have talked with him. So there's a balance that has to be met for the restoration and for the seafood industry. This state can't lose another industry. So I think that it behooves us to really look at this and see what's really happening. To say that you wanted to put that much water coming through from the Mississippi River, it's polluted water. So when you put it into our estuaries, what do you think happens to our seafood? This will affect recreational fishing just as much as it will affect commercial fishing. We are one and the same, whether people want to realize it or not. We're just called two different entities, commercial and recreational. So for us, it means a lot, because it would have hit hard on the Grand Isle side at the very beginning, but it was going to make it.
Terrebonne and Lafourche.
Yes. It would annihilate the seafood industry. I challenge people to go read the environmental study to see what they omitted from the process. And to go get a mammal waiver. Listen, God forbid one of us in the seafood industry, as far as a boat owner, have a turtle that dies upon their boat. I mean, hell will rain down on you. But you was going to allow to annihilate the entire dolphin population.
Yeah, this is incredible. Gordy, I want to give the governor a lot of credit too, because he put you in charge of this. But, you've been saying, he didn't say, Gordon, just put me together a program. He wanted you to back it up, have facts, have engineers, have everything that he could have, and that's what we're looking at now.
Well, you know, when Jeff Landry was elected governor, and he appointed me, and the Senate ratified me 100% to become chairman of the Coastal Protection Restoration Authority. The governor directed myself and others. He said, I want facts, figures, and backup. I want engineers' reports. I want CPA's reports, the CFO's report of CPRA. We need to know what happened. We want core reports. So we went on a quest to find those reports and submit it to them. And this is what it is right here. It's the facts, figures, and money-wise, it became a no-brainer. But there was a lot of other issues that should have suspended this a long time ago. And remember, they went to construction in August of 2023. The election was October, 2 months later. Why did you rush this project through when you needed National Flood Insurance Program, NFIP approval on 8 parishes and never started it? See,
I was going to ask you that. That takes years to get that from from the National Flood Insurance. That's a 2 or 3 year process.
You had to get the parish. It was in a core permit, the parish and FEMA approval. Remember, if you're going to lift the water from 1.6 to 3 feet, then you have to go to FEMA and let them know that, because that changes your base flood elevation. Mm-hmm. So some parishes are affected more than others.
We all know FEMA is on the ball and they get your stuff right away.
In about a decade. So that wasn't done. That was another major thing. Mm-hmm. And so my hats off to Jeff Landry and everyone who worked with us in this. And I mean, we went through it and we found facts, figures. And of course, during this process, the Corps suspended it. The United States Army Corps of Engineers suspended it, not Gordon Dell suspended it.
Well, y'all were going, this was a big deal y'all were going against, but the Corps of Engineers suspended the project because of a flawed, redacted model.
Right.
My number one question, who the heck redacted the model?
Well, I can't say. That's up to the Corps to further, look into that. But when it was found out that this was done, the Corps did put it on their website, the redacted and unredacted.
Okay.
This model that it was unredacted and redacted, then held back from design of a certain portion of it. So that
isn't that sort of misleading or lying to a federal agency?
Well, I mean, that's up to
they can do what they want to do.
It's up to the Corps to do what they want.
Yeah, they can do either this or whatever.
But that was done prior. That was done in, I believe, 2022.
Yeah.
Prior to, we took office in 2024, January. Okay. And so we inherited this mess.
Yeah.
And I believe what I'm going to show you is we've come out with a great solution.
All right, we're going to start that process of showing you right after a short break. Don't go away. This segment was brought to you by Cypress Stop, home of the happy customer. All right, we're back. We're going to dive into the Mid-Barataria Sediment Diversion Project. Gordon Dove, CPRA Chair, is here. Ms. Kim Chauvin is a councilwoman here in the parish and a vice chair, but she is in the industry, so she's here on that behalf. And before I go too far, we always invite the other side to come on. So if you have a plan and you want to come up here, just give me a call. You know where I'm at. All right, Mr. Dove, let's start with your program. Let's see what all the research was on.
Martin, since I took office, this is some major projects. Now, we have 145 projects we're doing with CPRA, but from the Fouchon breakwater rocks to rebuilding East Timley Island with segmented breakwater rocks, and as you know, East Timley Island's in Lafourche Parish, and the Cassitet Islands, Wine Island, restoration breakwater rocks, Marsh Island over in Iberia, White Lake. Now, in red is the Barataria land bridge. That's what we're doing in lieu of the diversion, is why I have it up here.
Right.
It's 23 and a half miles, 6,800 acres, and we're going to design and engineering and permitting of it. That is a 23.5-mile bridge from Plaquemines to Lafourche Parish. And that will stop the aggression of the heavy salinity waters from moving north into the basin.
It's just a big bulkhead.
That's it. And therefore, within the system, your vegetation will grow quicker because you won't have the high salinity waters. Then the Barataria long distance pipeline sediment. We've already started the engineering on Spanish Pass in Plaquemines. And we're also doing what they call a Myrtle Grove long distance pipeline sediment, which was done a few years ago.
I would think they'd be real happy because they fought it from day one in Plaquemines.
Well, Plaquemines didn't want it. They wanted what we're building now.
Correct.
Remember, and more, all of this, I'm not reinventing the wheel. This was here when I was up there 13 years ago.
Right.
And then you got Vermilion, New Iberia levees, you got Rockefeller, you got the Grand Isle segmented breakwater rocks, which we're trying to complete. The north side of Grand Isle, the levees at pump stations, Empire Lock Systems, the Bayou Disarmament Floodgate, and also Morganza to the Gulf, Chandelier Island. We actually awarded that job $380 million. So we're hitting the barrier islands. Now, the reason I have this here, now that the federal TIG, Trustee Implementation Group, has signed terminating a resolution terminating the Mid-Barataria, we can reconstitute $2.3 billion with a B to projects like these and others throughout South Louisiana.
If that would have went through, it would have killed all those projects, right?
You wouldn't have any money for it.
Correct. It's done.
But that used up all the NIFWIF and NERDA money.
Right.
Remember, it started off at $750 million. It escalated to $3.1 billion, but it was going hundreds of millions of dollars more. It would have obligated your Go Mesa money, your Gulf of Mexico revenue sharing, which we call Gulf of America now, as you well know. And so you would dedicate that. So where are you going to get the money to do all these projects? And most of what I'm showing you here has been ongoing. And there's a lot more than this. These are just the big projects.
I renamed it Gore so I could remember it. Gore, but substitute the B to G, Gores. That way you could, that way you could remember.
And then more, the next slide shows you your diversion. If you look at the top one, orange is the bar pause. That's under construction. More, that's only 720 CFS. We build pump stations in Terrebonne bigger than that.
That's right.
But that is going to put no more than 5% of the water into the Pontchartrain Basin. That's not like the Mid-Barataria, which is 75,000. It's going to run 75 times that. So then you're going to have Davis Pond, the green one going down, which is already pushing fresh water into Barataria Basin. Across from there is Carnarvon. Now this is Mid-Brad, the yellow one. That's being killed. You don't even need that, because if you look below it, the two white arrows, those are made by Mother Nature. One is Mardi Gras at 30,000 CFF. The other one is Neptune at 119,000 CFF. That is 150,000 CFS that's pulling water out of there, and the Corps is choking down. That we just signed with the Corps because they made a decision. They're trying to slow Neptune down. It's taking too much water out of the river. It's causing shoaling. So they don't need any more diversion. The bottom one is West Bay, which is below everyone. That's an uncontrollable 60,000. That's been renewed for 20 years. Because that helps nourish the islands along that chain from Grand Isle to the east. And then an orange one, of course, is Mid-Barataria. That's been canceled.
Kim, what was, I know what your thoughts are, but the industry as a whole, I'm sure y'all had a big lobbying voice in this. I'm sure everybody was on the phone a lot, right?
So we were, but it was not being recognized. So that was a big problem for us.
So the bureaucracy was sort of pushing y'all to the side?
Just kind of skipped over us. Listen, when I tell you just rolled over us, it was big money right there. And people, I think, are so about this that, but the problem is that they, and I don't know what they used to advertise and do what they did to make this like this was this big, grand, great thing, but it's not. Yeah. And people really need to go back and look at it.
Okay, let's do this. We'll take a break. If you're watching on Facebook and YouTube, keep watching. If you're watching on HTV, we'll see you tomorrow, part 2. This segment was brought to you by Rouse's Markets. Feels like home. All right, we're back on HTV. We had part 1 last night. You're seeing part 2 tonight on Facebook and YouTube. We're continuing the conversation. Kim, let me come back to you. Y'all have plants in Grand Isle and Terrebonne Parish combined. Tell me a little bit about that. How many boats y'all have? How many employees?
So a lot of times it's more going to be about the poundage being brought in. So we're probably at the 20 to 25 million pounds of shrimp being brought in, and then we do a little bit of fish on the Grand Isle side. So we just purchased Grand Isle, in that Dean had retired and living his life, you know.
Yeah.
So that has brought in, I was always fighting the diversion, this big diversion on the Terrebonne side, because I remember going to Gordy when he was parish president. I'm going to Jason as parish president and try to make them understand just what this would do to us. So we probably employ anywhere during the season about 50 to 60 people. And it flows on each side of it from Grand
But
Isle.
you supply a ton of restaurants.
Yes,
You supply a ton
we
of
do.
people.
We do.
This would change the landscape of Louisiana big time.
Yes, it definitely would.
The country.
Not so much in getting in the diversion working the way they said it would work, but the landscape and not even having,
I'm talking about getting shrimp to
right,
people all
not
over
even
the world.
having a seafood industry. So
is
your
incredible.
food security would be dead.
Not just shrimp.
Right.
Yeah.
Everything.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Oyster fishermen, everybody. But I want to get back to the slide presentation because that's intriguing me.
Okay, and we went over the different diversions. So this is the Louisiana Trustee Implementation Group. They were tasked with with approving projects for the BP. These are the guys that have to sign off on what we wanted to do to that diversion, and which was cancel it and reconstitute the money for other projects for them to approve. So you have the U.S. Department of Commerce, which is National Oceanic and Atmospheric Association, NOAA, U.S. Department of the Interior, U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, U.S. Department of Agriculture.
This is unprecedented.
They have to sign off, and they have signed off on terminating the project.
They don't sign off on many things.
These are the big guys.
Yeah.
So this wasn't just me, the CPRA chairman signing a
Yeah,
document.
can you please sign here?
And then if you look at the next one, this is the Louisiana, which is DNR, the LASCO, the Oil Spill Coordinator, Environmental Quality, Wildlife and Fisheries, and of course, Louisiana's Coastal Protection Restoration Authority. Of course, we chair it. Okay? Then the next one is, this was the money they were spending. $660 billion in what they call NIFWIF money, and $2.26 billion with DERTA. So that's $2.8 billion. That's it for the BP money in these funds.
Yeah.
So there's no more money to do projects unless we use GOMESA. And remember, your 2.88 billion, guess what? You at 3.1 billion right now on construction.
Mm-hmm.
So the state's got to come up with hundreds of millions of dollars just to complete. If you look at the next slide,
Mm-hmm.
when it was originally in 2013, it was $750 million. Then in 2016, 1.5 billion. It should have been shut out right there. In 16, it should have. In 13, they were trying an experiment. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with trying to see what's better. I mean, I disagree with them doing it, but in 2016, 1.5, and in 2021, 2.2, and in 2023, when they let it, $3.1 billion.
And you may have this, I'm going to ask you, but if you have it later, just tell me. I want to talk about the Adoptive Management Fund because that was smoke and mirrors. They said they have $80 million in that, but 50 million plus per year, right?
Well, no, that was a total fund for
Right,
adaptive management over 50 years.
Correct. That's right.
And you,
They didn't tell them.
You did not have enough money to do your O&M.
Right.
If you exceed your buyouts. So there's only one place to go back and get it. And you either go to Go Mesa money, which is our holy grail of money. We do the whole state with that.
Well, the legislature.
I'm going to say the whole state, the whole coastal state, or you got to go to the legislature. And that's your taxpayers' dollars.
That's right. Yeah.
This other money is BP fine. This does not come out of your pocket.
Yeah.
Okay, then the next one, I'm going to go over this right quick. But see, you were raising it 1'7" to 3 foot and possibly 4 foot with a south wind. Cost you quality of water. What's in the Mississippi River? The river is the most polluted river in the United States. And you got 3.1 million, you're already 200 million over your national flood insurance compliance with FEMA in 8 parishes. We discussed that.
Right.
You had to buy out 800 properties, and that was only Plaquemines, where they had the parish levies versus the NOV levy. You had to lift roads and all this. The saltwater wedge, huge. We've got with this core. We need to study what effect will shoaling have when you have the saltwater wedge. But remember, you're not going to be running the diversion when the saltwater wedge there because the river's low. But you still will have created shoals that can affect this.
All right, let's hold that thought. We're going to come right back. Gordy's turning the page. We'll be right back on his presentation. Don't go away. This segment was brought to you by Buick. Exceptional by design. All right, we're back. CPRA Chair, Gordon Dove, Kim Chauvin, the Council Vice Chair, but she's here on her own behalf talking about the industry today. And Mr. Dove, you got the floor.
Okay, Boyd, if we can go back to that slide. We're limited time, so I'm going to move a little quicker,
Okay.
please. Slow it up. Okay, well, we talked about the 800 properties. Of course, you had a big dredging issue to dredge canals, bayous, wellheads that you have to get. You have to get to hypoxia. We're going to get within a minute. And the potential buyouts in Lafitte and pipeline assessments. The good thing is by doing a core, the 2,500 and 15,000 CFS, we are going to save on page 11, $1 billion plus. But remember, it's a 65%, 35% state match. They were already doing that. I didn't recreate the wheel here. I just put the wheel back on automobile, you know?
There you go.
And then the next one is is about the dredging. We had it estimated at 1.7 billion is the O&M for the life of the project, not including lakes and all your oil and well gases, some of them. The next one, you will experience tidal flooding. That's the 1 to 3 feet, 10 miles to the north, 20 miles to the south. That's the environmental impact statement. That's what Kim was talking about.
Right.
The next one, that is the impact area. You can see Terrebonne, Lafourche, all this area. And like she said, it will get into Terrebonne Bay from there eventually. And that was not done. That's the NFIP, National Flood Insurance Compliance. The next one is the actual report says it's a major permanent adverse impact on brown shrimp. Permanent. Now, if you read on there, I'm not going to go into it, it actually says you can supplement it by buying foreign shrimp.
Really?
It actually says that.
That's appalling.
And then the next one is about the oysters. Okay, besides her industry, hemp industry, you got the oyster industry besides the recreational industry.
It blows my
Pollution on the
mind.
river right quick. You got the next one, you got DDTs, TCA, PCBs, mercury, bacterias. PFAS is the new one, Forever Chemicals, has all
I
kind
don't
of
know about
lawsuits.
you, but I'm feeling kind of healthy recently.
The next one is the Mississippi River. Look what is that
E. coli.
the E. coli in the river, and look, you can't swim but at 88. Look, levels should not exceed 88 to swim on the next one. You see? Yeah. So I mean that's going into that Barataria Basin. We could be all day here talking about the chemical makeup. The next one, saltwater wedge. We've talked about that. We don't know how it's going to affect it, but they want to study on that before you do anything. Next one is the Mississippi River. This is big. Then, as you know, 42% of the United States drains through, 41%, excuse me, drains through Louisiana. The next one is the dead zone offshore. That would move inshore also.
That's what Kim was talking about.
6,705 square miles of zones. Yeah, on a hypoxia
That is
zone.
coming from NOAA-supported scientists, right?
This is all NOAA.
Yeah.
This is the feds. This is not.
Not Gordon Dove's thing. This is
That's
NOAA.
right. And what it does is it produces algae. Algae dies, it depletes the oxygen, and that's where you get what they call hypoxia or hypoxic
Kim, that would
zone.
kill your industry.
It would. And this was the stuff that we were bringing to some of the meetings that they would, we would ask a lot of questions and they would just kind of push back on us and like it wasn't important. But it's majorly important. It's in the environmental study.
Go to real quick. How much pushback did you have doing this?
A lot. A lot of people.
What's a lot? What's a lot?
Tremendous. I mean, we had for 12 years, it was slated as the best thing since mom's apple pie. But this stuff needed to be brought out.
But we wouldn't
And
have seen that playing in our lifetime. They're
No.
playing, yeah.
And
Now we're going to see it.
And remember, algae blooms are caused by nitrogen and phosphorus. So we'll move on. I know we run out of time.
We got a segment after this, so we'll.
Okay, and the next one, what causes algae bloom? It's nitrogen and phosphorus, and cause it produces algae blooms that die and depletes the oxygen. All north of Grand Isle, there was a great possibility you would have that. Raccoon Island, I just show that because we're trying to do rocks on all the dairy islands. Look how beautiful that island is.
that really has worked
That's
out.
self-sustained. Then what is our alternative? It goes to the 2007 Word Authorization as submitted by the Corps of Engineers Chief's report, not Gordon Dove's report, not CPRA report, the chief, and that was authorized by Congress. And the next one, 65% federal funding, 35%. This no liability to the state, no substantial water rise in the Barataria, and you would redistribute 2.2. It's actually 2.3 now that we've settled everything out. You 2.3 billion. And they can, and we've already got a non-binding letter of intent to the Corps to get started, and we're moving from there. The next one just goes into about the same thing with 2.2 billion and no liability, all the exposures to the Corps of Engineers. This was ongoing for 6 years when it was canceled in 2013. And then the next one is just, a lot of it's repetitive. And this does, and if you read to the right, this does not obligate GOMESA money or state funding. We're still using the BP money, which is non-tax money. It was, it was because of the BP spill.
You have to change all those go mesas to gores.
And, and then the next one, basically 2,500, 3,000. Then if you go on, this is what we're going to do in Barataria Basin. The reason I'm getting all this is because the money is going to go to all the parishes. That is the long distance pipeline, that's the medium diversion, and below that is the land bridge.
All right, hold that thought. We're going to take our final break, come back with another segment, and we'll wrap things up with the CPRA chair and our council vice chair, who is here on a personal level. We'll be back. This segment was brought to you by A.J. Doman Chevrolet. We say yes when others say no. All right, back. Gordon Dove, CPRA chair. Ms. Kim Chauvin, of course, on the council, but representing herself today. And Gordon's got his PF flyers that he's going to move on these slides real quick.
Yeah, and then I'm just about wrapped up on it. I'm sorry it's taking so much.
No, go for
But
it.
the bottom land bridge is going to be built by the state. The medium is the core with the dedicated dredging, and that's Barataria Basin. If we're going to take some away, we better replace it. And we will have more land built here, 26,000 acres versus 4,000 to 7,000 the other way. One graph had 14,000, so pick a graph on the 75,000. The next one is just the land bridge. It shows the 6,800 acres. The next one is, they just finished Spanish Pass out of Venice. That's the core. That was taken before the maps catch up to it. That's a land bridge right there. It just the map didn't catch up to it. That's an automobile. Okay, I just like that picture. 1,500 acres. It shows they work, and then the rest is the East Timberlake Islands that we're rebuilding to help protect Lafourche. That's in Lafourche Parish, and called Terrebonne. And then the next one is the Corps. This is the actual report to the Corps. If you see the Corps of Engineers, this is what they were doing. This is the 2010 report. The next one is the Department of Interior weighing in. The next one is, and remember, this was all being done. Mm-hmm. The next one is the Department of Interior, Fish and Wildlife. The other is NOAA. Here's BETNIF. And one thing in BETNIF, it says, BETNIF, which is the Barataria Estuary Program, that's by the state of Louisiana and the feds. It says it will be the destruction of the fisheries. This was ignored. And then the final is the four environmental groups who all agreed with it back in 2010. It said it should be a model next generation of a diversion that uses pulse operation. So they were familiar with it, the NGOs, and they were okay with it. I'm sure they're still okay with it. They just want the 75,000.
Right.
But obviously they're not okay with it. That's their decision.
We're talking about Barrier Islands, land bridges, marsh recreation, the land bridges you talked about. I'm hearing room was Terrebonne Parish, land bridge.
Land bridge has always been one plan in Terrebonne.
Good.
There's been one in Lafourche.
Yeah.
There's stuff being done in Vermilion. In Barataria, we doing land bridges.
Yeah, big bulkheads all over.
But what I'm saying is the environmental groups who have opposed me, they were familiar with this, is why I wanted to show you that other stuff. They knew what was going on. Okay?
Yeah,
This wasn't a surprise to
I
them.
don't get it. That's why I want them to come on. They would have to do some serious explaining to me. Kim, let me come to you. Hypoxia. That's a big word, but it would kill your industry.
Yes, definitely. So when you look at the Mississippi River drainage, when it's coming down, there's a group that meets, but it's only 10 of the states that actually drain in. So I know that they're working on certain things for it to happen, to take some of this stuff down of the pollutants, but it's not enough because you have, I think, 32 that hit into it, and so many of the Canadian provinces that drain into it too. So when you're getting all these pollutants and fertilizers and different things that are coming down, and it's coming into the Gulf of America, you're going to do harm. It's going to create a humongous dead zone. Mm-hmm. And so that will be the end of oysters, the crabs. I know people say, well, they're going to move. Where will they move to? If we take out the estuaries and then we're still going out to the the offshore part of it, where's all this stuff going?
Yeah, it seems like we got to push to get things out of Louisiana and our area, and we all trying to push to keep it here.
Right.
I mean, it's a survival,
Our whole thing is and he Gordy hit on it, is that they knew that this would be the destruction of the seafood industry, because then you would have to buy foreign seafood. Make that make sense to me.
That blows my mind.
Here we are trying to save our industry, and the state of Louisiana should really wrap their arms around this industry because they need it. Mm-hmm. Also, food security. We would lose all of that. Mm-hmm. That's important. And look, I see in Grand Isle, I see what the rocks have done there. Mm-hmm. You can go out fishing and you can look what they have accomplished in rocking and dredging. Mm-hmm. You get to see it. This was some plan, almost like a pie in the sky kind of thing.
I'll say this in pun, but I'm surprised Gordy's house isn't surrounded by rocks. He loves rocks, but they work, don't they?
And and like Jeff Landry, like Governor Jeff Landry said in the committee, it is up to us to protect a legacy, a way of life, a way of people working that their ancestors worked. But when we have an alternative, and still save the industry. Why not do it? And then, and I welcome everyone to join in with us, no matter who was for this or against this.
Right.
Well, I should say who was against it.
I always invite everybody to come on and do it again. This was very educational for me. I've been hearing about it for months, especially when I talk to you. You've been indulged in this, and well, congratulations on the victory.
In Martin, we're going back out for $2.3 billion. the parishes are eligible to put their projects in. A lot of projects are already in, and we so that gives us money to do it, and we're going to move forward, and the Corps going to build a diversion, a lot smaller one.
Mr. Dove, Ms. Chauvette, thank y'all for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we'll see you again. Don't go away, more programming on HTV.
Thank you, Martin.
This segment was brought to you by Alford and Associates for all of your insurance needs.